This is going to be the rebranding of a logo. One of the previous videos that we uploaded was a Pirate Pete logo, and that was very kiddie, very not tough. Let's put it that way. So the football team was looking for something a little bit with a little bit more edge that would incite a little bit more fear. So we were coming up with a little bit more of a skull pirate logo for this one. So I did give you guys the resource file. If you guys are following along on YouTube, I did give you that in the description. If you guys are in class, you're just kind of following along. And the things I've already done is I've already placed the image and I've already created a template layer. So just select on the layer that you have placed. And in the layer menu, just select template. And then what we're looking to do is in our brushes, we are looking to bring in our cartoon. So our cartoon brushes, we've done that in a couple different other videos. I will upload to YouTube just how to load those again, or if you're looking to create your own. I know there was some specific requests on just creating your own cartoon brushes, so we'll show you how to do that too. So with the pen tool, this is going to be a slower video with the pen tool. So click, anytime we're doing a curve, remember click and drag. Anytime we're coming back on ourselves, we're going to be hitting the Alt key. Now for this one, we are going to do we're going to come back with the direct selection tool after each one. So my left hand, I'm righty. My left hand is hanging out right by Control, Alt, the A, as well as the V. So A again is white arrow, that is our direct. V is the selection tool. Now when we're selecting our brushes, notice that the cartoon brushes are over hanging out on the side. I'm just kind of just using the default settings to start with. And then I am kind of doing this overlap. So a good just rule of thumb is anything that hits into the middle, or it's not basically coming up on itself, that's going to be a tapered line. And in the cartoon brushes, I did kind of flip both of those. So you might see that there's like a thick to thin line, and I've done that in both directions just so I can click on it and I don't have to flip it each time. And I'll go through that more in the specific video. Hit A. So this one's a Shift C, and I'm just clicking back. And we are going to come back in and clean up all those overlapping. So if this is going to be your first video, some things that I would do is just kind of minimize this and just follow directly along to it. And another little thing I would be doing is with the ease of the pen tool, especially when I'm just going through and teaching the beginning graphic designers, what we're looking to do is keep the lines very small so we have more control over them, and then we're also overlapping so we can just come back in later and we'll be able to clean those up really easily. So it kind of takes a lot of the frustration out of the pen tool if you keep your lines nice and short. And then also when we do our cleanup, you're going to figure out that it is a very, very easy process later. So all these overlapping lines, as long as it makes sense to you, it actually is really, really easy. Alright, so since this one is going to touch 2, this is going to go thick, thin, thick. So I do have that brush as well. And we're just going to kind of modify that, bring that one up. So you can kind of tell the habit. I'm going to basically draw the line with the pen tool. I can move it. I'm going to come back with my direct selection tool, and then I'm going to modify my points. Come back with the selection tool, and then I'm modifying my basically the brush I'm looking for, and also the thickness. Shift, hitting Alt. This one's going to come all the way around to the cheekbone. On curves, good rule of thumb, do a anchor point before and after the curve. That'll usually simplify it. Again, you want to keep your points as few as possible. That's really the thing you're looking to do, is try and get 1 to 2 instead of click, 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 click all the way around. So you don't want it to be points heavy, especially for editing. Alright, we're just kind of cleaning up that top. That little crack is kind of like his bouffant hairdo. Okay, click, Alt, we got a curve, click and drag, come back over the top, click and drag. We're going to go thin to thick on this one. So this one's a little bit different. I'm going to do basically modify to where I want. I'm going to expand it, and then I am going to basically pull up the upper corner of the eyebrow. So I'm just kind of getting the bottom edge right now. So I'm expanding it. There are too many points, so I'm going to just come down to path, and then I'm going to simplify. Always do preview. Usually the default is way too much, so I'm just going to kind of knock it down to 99, 90, 98. And just so we have 1 to 2 in that corner, and then we can modify. Typically when you're doing the brushes, they will, and you expand it, it'll give you a crazy amount more points than you need, so just kind of be aware of that. Alright, let's do the little crease in your eye. Alt, we're going to come back. Actually, we're not going to come back. Take that back. Fatten up. Hit Alt, come back at the top, click and drag. Just modify your points. And I'm pretty zoomed out in this one. You guys can really zoom in way easier, especially with the direct section tool. That will simplify your lives, especially when you're clicking the points and the anchor points. I'm just zoomed out so it looks cooler on this video. Shame on me. Alright, I'm just doing a little blob brush. And that's just to fill in the background. The end result is we're going to basically expand all of our lines, and then we are going to, using the Pathfinder, we're going to unite them. So you guys can come through, use your shapes. You can also come in and use the blob brush to just kind of fill in any of the little gaps. Things I would avoid to do, and we're going to do it a few times on this one, but things that just trying to avoid is filling. Like notice that I just have the black, since we're going to be uniting everything. And I'm going to completely go against it right here. I'm just going to fill it in with white. But you guys can do just filling in with black usually simplifies your life a little bit easier when we're doing the cleanup. Or as we're uniting. If you have a bunch of colors, keep in mind when you unite or you expand, you just have to be very selective on how you are expanding those. So we're just giving them a little point. Other little solution as you're doing this is if you didn't want the white fill, you can easily just click the eyeball, click the white, and then just go to your Pathfinder and then go minus front, and that'll just keep it all nice and black for you. So that is an option. Click. Do the nose. I'm quite happy with the nose, by the way. Shift. We're going to go Alt back on itself. Now, when we finish this one, I kept it solid, but in the drawing, there is a little bit of a space on the left-hand side if you wanted to keep it a little bit more hollow, or more of a hole, if you will. Okay. I'm just going to modify those. Okay, let's go cheekbone. Now, one of the things with the rebranding was there was a lot of soft edges, a lot of curves on the initial, so there's going to be a lot more sharp edges on this rebranding, just to make it a little bit sharper. So a lot of the chin, the cheekbones, you'll see a little bit more of a sharp edge to things. Click, click, drag. This one's going to go basically the tapered edges. I'm pretty aware that you guys can't see the cartoon in the video. When you get them, it's a little hard to see too. Also, keep in mind in the stroke panel, you can drop it down, and it'll be a little bit more of a zoom in, so you guys can see them too. So you guys, I have the brush menu up. Up at the top, you can also just do it, and it'll show up and appear in your strokes. I know a lot of the kids do it that way. Okay, that's going to go fat to skinny. And we're just creating some teeth. Whenever we can simplify our lives using shapes, possibly the warp tool, this would be a good little thing to be doing. And I'm just doing a free distort on this one. But you guys can really play around with it. Instead of doing a, building each one or doing the pen tool, I think this is going to be a little bit easier. But we're going to still come in. There's going to be these little creases in between the teeth, and that'll be our brush tool. This is just kind of give us a basic tooth shape. Okay, click Alt. Now as we're doing this, just be aware of the overlapping. As we approach the left-hand side, you want those to be behind. So as we're kind of going, we're just doing it, but as I'm thinking about it now, I would be doing kind of the tooth I'm working on right now. That should be the one in the front, and then the ones to the right, those will stay in the front, but the ones that are kind of going towards the back on the left-hand side would be behind. So if you want to start showing more depth in this guy, that might be a good little option for you. And right now they're hollow, but if you want to not have chiclets kind of thing, and you want more overlapping, that would be a good little option. So like this one, I want this to be overlapped a little more. Okay, we're just coming back with the pen tool, and this is going to be the little creases. So we're just going to be able to fill in some of those gaps, and it's also going to give us some nice little lines. And this is also going to define kind of that lip shape. So just kind of be aware of this, especially with this far left one. You can kind of tell, or you can kind of modify it if you want more or less depth in it. So I'm going to take that one, drag it up. And what that little tiny overlap line is going to do is that's going to basically say, hey, this is now going back in space. So it's subtle. It is very, very subtle. But if you're looking for more depth rather than a flat face, those little overlapping lines, that's kind of how you're going to do it. Alright, let's just start fattening things up. I'm not a giant fan of the teeth, so we're going to fix those too. Nice little creases, good. You can definitely play around with the length of those two. That middle one, that could go up pretty high. And they can also get pretty subtle. So now I'm just going to mess around with the strokes. Not super happy with what we had. Mess around with the stroke. Alright, this is getting pretty close. Now what we're going to do is, for this tutorial, we're going to keep everything kind of on a separate layer. Now if I was going to do like a t-shirt or something like that where I wanted everything to be on the same, then I would probably say keep it on the same layer. But since I already know that this isn't going to be the positioning that I want for the final, I definitely want to kind of make sure that I have a little bit more creative control as we move into the editing. So the kind of the head shape is going to be on its own layer, the knife is going to be on its own layer, and then the jaw is going to be on its own layer, and then I can position those independently as I'm moving forward. So if you kind of go back and see the final, you're going to tell that the top kind of moves down. You're also going to see that the jaw and the knife actually move. So we have created a new layer for the jaw. I have selected the teeth, and we're just copying and pasting those down. I do want those on its own layer. And I'm going to do a little bit more overlapping. So I don't want these to look exact. So I do want to kind of modify them, and I want to rescale them, but just so we don't have to redo the whole thing. Now for the little, I guess you want to call them pirate gums, or the skull gums here, I'm just going to duplicate those, and it's going to get a little confusing, so I am actually going to fill in the top teeth with white. So those are all going to get filled in black. And then I want these top ones to be all white. When you fill them in, you will be able to tell the overlapping a lot better. So you're going to tell that far left one is all messed up. So you want to make sure that the order and the overlap is kind of how you want them. So this is just kind of rearranging them so that the line that you want for the overlapping is just in the right place. Keep in mind if they were not overlapping or if they're just kind of touching, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that stuff. Okay, back to the pen tool. We're going to do our nice little creases. Keep in mind those can be as fat and or as skinny as you want. They can also extend down, so if I wanted to really push out kind of the chin, that would be a kind of a good one. Especially that middle one. If you wanted to extend that one down, that would be a good one to push out. Things I would avoid is keeping those exactly the same though. Okay. Do some chin. Click, click, click. The chin is going to be pretty sharp, so you guys, you're going to like this one. This is going to be a little bit easier. So since this is going to overlap, this is going to go fat, skinny, fat with the brush that we're seeking. Next one is going to go skinny, skinny to fat. Just modifying. I have an extra little line in here. If you wanted it to just sort of be a, I don't know, what do you want to call it, a butt chin? If you wanted more of a butt chin look or more of a kind of a jaw, I was kind of going off of if we took, I don't know his name. What's the Spartan mascot's name for Michigan State? If we took his face and ripped his face off, basically, I was looking for his type of chin. Sparty? Is it Sparty? Okay, click, click. Now keep in mind, these are separate, so if we were going to come back, kind of the final step of this is going to be live paint bucket. So just kind of be aware of, as you are enclosing things, there are some, all the lines up at the top, or basically the head, that's on a separate layer. So I will modify that, and I don't know if I have it in video or not. And that's simply so I can do it with the live paint bucket later. So this is just in case I move the knife and or jaw in its right position. I'm kind of finalizing the jaw, and I could probably even do that all the way over, so that line on the top could actually swing all the way over in case the bottom teeth aren't covered. So that could be a nice little modification if you guys are kind of playing around with it. So basically the bottom of the mouth could extend all the way over to the left side of the chin, so you can kind of keep that line going. I already know it's going to be filled in, and it's going to be overlapped by the knife. But if you guys wanted to take some creative licensing with this guy, that would be kind of cool. Alright, notice I've already created a new layer. This is for the knife. And all we're going to, this one's pretty simple. We are just going to keep our line work nice. And I do want to just be aware of the point. Sometimes with the custom brushes, the points are kind of funky. Skinny, skinny. This is going to be pretty clean, but if you wanted to do some ridges and or some imperfections in the blade, that could be kind of a cool little look too. Later in the video, we are going to use the warp tool. So one of the things that why we're doing this on a separate layer is kind of that back part of the handle. I want to flatten that. So it kind of just as the initial sketch, good to go, but I did want to modify that quite a bit. So that's why the jaw, as well as the knife, and even the top position, we're going to be able to modify those later. So instead of redrawing it multiple times to get it right, I already knew that in the computer you can basically just separate it and then modify them later. And that's just so it doesn't look like the blade's standing on edge. We want it to lie down flat a little bit more. Click, drag. Click, drag. Keep in mind, if this was ever fast, if you guys are kind of watching and following along, a lot of what the kids do is just kind of watch it, pause, do it, watch it, pause, do it. So especially as we move into longer videos, or if we actually take it real slow with the pen tool like this, this is designed so you guys just follow along in class. So if you guys are following along on YouTube, that is kind of the purpose of it. If I speed demo it, all the kids go completely crazy and yell at me. Okay, let's just kind of reposition the blade here. To be honest, I think we're getting pretty close to doing the next step. Now for the next step, I am going to speed through it. When we start cleaning up the lines, I think that is an easier thing to speed through since it's the exact same thing. So right now everything's all over the place, and when we clean it up, I would not recommend having all of the lines, especially if you do more complicated stuff, or if you're using this technique, I wouldn't have them all open. It just gets a little bit more complicated, that's all. Okay, so let's move on to the next phase here. Alright, we are in a new layer. We are going to select everything, go up, object expand. So I'm selecting everything, object expand. Alright. And what we're double checking, sometimes it takes one or two just to get all the strokes. So just kind of keep looking to see if anything still looks like a stroke rather than a shape. And this is how simple it is. We're just going to select the object, and we're looking for all those little overages that we did earlier. And then I'm just clicking Shift-E or the eraser tool, and I'm just coming in just like your brush, and we're just deleting any of the overages. So the major little trick with this one is just make sure you're clicking the one you want to delete. So sometimes it takes a little bit of a thought process to just think of which one you're actually deleting, but just be very specific. I'm going to delete this one, come in. Also be aware that the bracket keys next to the P key will change the brush size. So we're just going to come in, we're just looking for any of these little things that are peeking. Click, click, click. And we're just looking for clean edges. Now, keep in mind, right now, everything is still, basically everything is still separate. So we didn't unite anything yet. So we didn't use any Pathfinder or anything like that. So even if I wanted to modify some of the shapes, so let's say if I wanted to modify the cheeks or something like that, before you actually do the Pathfinder, that would be kind of a good little thing to be looking for. Now we do have the teeth on this one that are filled, and just so we don't have to do all of that, we're just going to be a little bit more specific on what we are selecting. That's just the difference. So I'm just holding down mouse shift, I'm expanding everything, and I'm still looking for any of those overages. Okay, looks good. Remember to select everything. We're expanding. And then we're just coming in, Shift-E. And we're just getting rid of the things we don't want. This one was just developed just to simplify the pen tool. A lot of our students were doing all sorts of different really funky things, or they were really trying to go back to the stylus, and their lines just got all over the place. So this was just an easier way to keep the lines nice and short. We can do overlapping. We don't have to be perfect as we're coming through. And then they were able to just come in and clean up in a very, very short amount of time. Okay, so now we're moving a little bit more into the coloring. And so once everything is pretty much how you want it, now we're going to select everything, and we're going to use the Pathfinder, and we are going to unite all of our black shapes. So the only one that's a little bit goofy on that top shape is the eyeball, or the little highlight. We are going to select everything, Object, go down to Live Paint, and then you're going to select Make. And what I'm doing right now is I'm basically duplicating out that line layer. So if you're unsure of things, that is a good little kind of habit to get in, is just to have kind of everything separated. So a lot of times I'll have a line layer, keep that clean. I've already expanded it, and then I duplicate that layer before coloring. So basically I have a nice clean ink line layer above all my color. It's also a good way of doing it if you ever plan on doing t-shirts. That's also kind of a cool way of doing it, where you're kind of separating out your lines as well as your colors and things like that. Alright, we're going to do the same thing. Select your knife. We are uniting all of the black, and we are making. Come to Live Paint Bucket. And right now you can tell I'm just doing white, and that's just so I can kind of see what the final shapes look like before we start moving things around. Alright, we're going to do the exact same thing with the bottom. Keep in mind we do have the teeth that are filled in with white. Again, notice that I have duplicated out. And we're just going to use the Live Paint Bucket. This one's going to go pretty quick. White, black. Okay, call it a day. Now once everything is opaque, now you can kind of see how do I like things. So this is where you guys can really come in, start modifying the shapes. You can also start to just kind of rearrange the positioning. And we're going to start to do the coloring process. So before we do the coloring, What we're going to need to do is we're going to expand our live paint bucket. Usually the live paint bucket has this funky little, you can kind of tell they have the little weird squares. And so all I'm doing right now is kind of tightening things up. I want my little skull to have a little bit of an underbite, by the way. Okay, so what we are doing is we basically expanded. So we expanded the live paint bucket, and now what we're looking to do is ungroup so we can select the white. So the white is going to be where we are going to be pretty much adding in our value and our color. So I'm just ungrouping everything. Now keep in mind we should still have the white line layer, but once we ungroup all the white, that would be actually another good time where you can actually create a new layer. So if you want everything separated, that would be actually kind of a cool little idea as well. So some of the live paint bucket, they're actually going to be in specific areas, just so you're aware. And you can just come in and just change it just with your splotches. So that is actually a very, very easy way of coming in and just doing the coloring. Now some of the white is going to be a little bit different. So what we are going to do is we are going to use the saw tool. We're going to use that quite a bit with just kind of adding in some specific shapes. Why I kind of like the saw tool, especially for beginners, is it isn't as labor intensive as the Pathfinder tool. So all we're going to do is hiding under your eraser, and what we get to do is just kind of draw. It will kind of smooth out, by the way, and it's just going to be cutting the white. So notice that I'm selecting the area I want, so I'm only dealing with the white. I'm not dealing with the black, and I'm able to come in and I'm just cutting out little shapes. And then first I'm just going to say, where do I want the shadows to go? Things to be aware of is make sure it goes over the lines. So when I select a shape, just be very aware of where those lines kind of stop and start. So you do actually have to like cut out the shape in order to color it. So just make sure you always come back on itself. Like start outside. If you're outside of it, keep in mind it doesn't do anything. So you can start all the way on the left and just come all the way over, and it really doesn't matter. And it will keep your lines pretty clean. Now I'm going right at it. Another little tip too is you can always go select your shape, copy, paste in front, and then cut things out, just so you always have a clean white layer underneath. That could be another little option for you. And all I'm doing right now is I'm just thinking where, if I have a fake light source, where would I want some shadows to go? So under the eye, maybe under the eyebrow. Other little thing as those little creases, especially with the teeth. And I'm going to keep this color palette pretty simple, and then I'll come back later and then add in the our pirate team logo colors. So that's where I didn't cover the edge, so I couldn't select it. Okay. This little side of the face, by the way, this could be another good little area to pop out the left side of the face. So as that kind of shadow goes up towards the eye patch, you could actually do a nice little value kind of going into the eyebrow as I'm staring at it now. And then also just be aware of how many colors you have as your options. So if most teams are anywhere from 2 to 4. Most of them are usually averaging around that 3 color range or the 3 value range. So just kind of be aware of how many you're actually dealing with. Same thing, saw tool, and I'm just kind of adding some more values into the teeth here. This process is actually pretty simple. Once you kind of understand that, hey, I can basically cut out anything I want, you can kind of also see that I'm actually speeding this up and it's still going fairly slow. So you can kind of see that as long as you're fairly meticulous with the mouse and you're not going crazy, it'll actually keep pretty smooth for you. It is a little bit harder to see once you're done And I would zoom in for this as well to see just where you cut out. Other little thing to be aware of too is be aware that you're not moving the shapes. Since they are independent, they do like to kind of move on you, and then you get these weird little halos. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's move on to the jaw. If you guys have done shadows with the Pathfinder, I think you guys are really going to like this one. But all we're doing, select a shape, saw tool. Now if you guys are brand new to kind of adding value, I'm trying to think of just a good rule of thumb. I actually tell this is for kind of like my beginning cartooning students, is to actually physically draw a fake sun on your picture and then draw an arrow. And then anything that actually hits on that side, that would be where the sun would hit. So there's your white. Anything on the opposite side, that would be kind of a good little area to put some shadows. Other nice little rule of thumb is anything on the bottom, I guess, would be another easy thing to do. Since these sun and or light sources usually on top, the bottom is kind of an easy way to just kind of thinking about it. Okay. And what we're doing is we're going to add another little shape. This one's just going to be black underneath the jaw. Actually, take that back. Underneath the skull shape. So it looks like he's biting down on the knife. I want that probably be black. I'm just drawing out new little shapes, kind of little spikes, just to kind of add a little bit more value. You guys can easily do this with the brushes too. Okay, send it back. I don't know if I got it in the video or not, but I definitely added a few more little lines, just so, especially I think I did another one under the front teeth. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I don't know if I did that or not. We're getting close to the end here, guys. So what we are also going to do, and I think I did get this in the recording, is I want to select everything on the knife. So we're still just coloring. So once the coloring is done, what I'm looking to do is take that top part of the handle and then basically drop it. So I think that the handle is actually, it looks like it's kind of tilted up a little bit too much. So I want to drop that one down. Other little things just to be aware of is I am kind of coloring right now with just black and white, kind of just kind of a grayscale. And we're going to kind of spit over to when we add the colors. If you guys know, if you're doing it for a team or something like that and you already know the team colors, you guys can always just start with those too. Okay, so we are going to be looking for distort and then free distort. I'm going to take that upper left hand corner and I'm just going to tilt it down a little bit. So we just want that handle to just drop so it looks like it's flat. And I'm expanding, I'm expanding. Alright, that looks pretty good. So at this point, now we can just kind of be tweaking and moving things around. Things are still separated on their own layers, by the way. And so we can still be just modifying. So some little things that I did add. We're going to kind of skip to the kind of the final, but I did create a new layer. So basically what I did is copied and pasted all of what I had over onto its new layer, and I just filled everything with black. And then I united it. And so what that gave me is a silhouette. So it'll just be a black silhouette. I did add on a offset path, by the way. So when we flip over to the final, we've got a silhouette. I've got an offset path, and that's what's the white area. And I don't know what that was. I think that was 03, but you guys can play around with it. And then on that offset path, I added a red stroke. So I have a red stroke on an offset path, and then I just added another little circle underneath it. So our colors were black, gray, and red, and so that's where this color scheme kind of came from. Keep in mind, you could also add all sorts of different little things. I did another one where there was on a flag. I actually warped it a little bit. You can also play around with the offset path. So major one is create a new layer. Basically unite everything. If you unite everything, basically it'll probably be a silhouette right there. And then under object, drop down to path, you'll see offset path. But if you want to start playing around, you'll notice that almost all college logos have kind of that multi-tiered stroke. Start playing around with it. So that's kind of how you're going to get an outline and then a kind of a stroke on a stroke. But there's our pirate logo. Hopefully you guys like this one. I had a lot of fun doing this one. And if you liked it, make sure you guys subscribe so we keep all of the YouTube stuff up. So this is so we make sure that it's nice and available for you guys to follow along to, and it's not just for our students. Thanks for following along, and keep a lookout for new videos.